Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews Saturday Conversation Show, an interview series where I talk to entertainment personalities, content creators, and filmmakers about their work and love of film. Today's guest is Jeff Sneider, the infamous InSneider, who for over 20 years has delivered inside scoops and breaking news to the delight of film and TV fanatics. A writer, editor, and podcaster for the likes of Collider, Variety, The Wrap, and many more. Jeff now delivers exclusive news and views through his excellent newsletter, The InSneider, the link of which you'll find in the show notes. I really recommend people do subscribe to The InSneider because, Jeff, I've been following your career for such a long time. I think the first time I actually came across your stuff was when you were in Collider. You were doing your stuff over there, and to find that you're doing the independent road now. You got your newsletter out there. You're doing great work in there, some really great scoops in there, and it always gives me a little bit of pleasure to see whenever the big trades have to report your news, because it makes me say, well, he's the man. So here we are, the man's right here. So thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you very much for having me. This is a very cool opportunity, and yeah, like Collider. It's funny that you just say that you were first exposed to my work at Collider because, like, looking back on it, like I didn't know how good I had it at
Mm.
Collider. I mean, like, the salary was okay, but like working with my friends and that group of people every day and just like being excited to go into the office. I miss those days. If only we could get the band back together, but now everybody's spread out all over the country.
I wanted to go back a little bit to when you were a kid. You grew up in Massachusetts, and from what I understand for you, you're oldest of three brothers, and you were the guy who kind of set the tone for the movies. Horror movies was your jam, right? When you were younger, was that pretty much the deal there?
100%. Like I remember going to the local video store, and we had a local video store before Blockbuster came in and put it out of business, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like blanking on what it was called, but like I was just drawn to the box art for all the horror movies, right? That's the
Yeah.
stuff that grabs you. It's like the stuff that you shouldn't be looking at. With Santa Claus with an axe and or just like a severed head. And so yeah, I fell in love with horror movies. That's what got me into it. And I would say by the time I was 12 years old, like not only did I know I wanted to write movies for a living, which didn't end up happening, but I began keeping track of every movie that I saw. Like I think it started with Mission Impossible and Twister, actually, in 1996 when I was 12. So that is how I got into it. And yeah, I had two brothers who I could always just be like, you guys got to see this. And I was just showing them all kinds of stuff. And they like movies, both of them, more than the average person, I would say. They're not movie fanatics like I am. But yeah, I like that they're into it as well. They indulge me at least.
Older brothers are also my older brother used to bring home all the great action stuff, the Van Damme's, Stallone's, the Schwarzenegger stuff. And my parents, who they migrated here back in '69, so kind of like oblivious to like the content that was in these movies, And so we watch it in my brother's room, check out all these great films, and from then on, it was just I just sucked into the world of movies. And it all comes down to the video store again. He got the videos, he brought them home, we watched them together, loved it. Yeah.
Right. And so let me guess, you're around, or do you have like 2 or 3 years on me? What's the deal? How old are you?
I'm 43, so I was 81.
I
You're
got it.
84, right?
I'm 40, so you're 43. I nailed it. Just based on like the posters behind you, I could tell.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you look much better than me, and you have a full head of hair, so I'm very. But yeah, just based on the things behind you, I was like, this guy's a little bit older than me.
Oh yeah. I mean, I absolutely love those times. And you were saying before about the video box side and everything. I had great pleasure going roaming through video stores, and I know that streaming makes things much more easier and such, but it's just I don't know, man. It's just those days are just like finding stuff, seeking things out. I think it was a really cool way of going about finding movies. And you had a great pleasure. You throw it in the VHS in, you don't know what you're going to get. Maybe you saw the trailer, maybe not. I think it was a really cool time. You were saying before 96.
Is
Go
there what
ahead.
look? I'm like turning the tables on you, and I'm like taking over the interview. But like, is there a box art that stood out to you? Do you remember?
I always loved the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, and I think the one that I remember from the top of my head, I think it was number four for not Dream Warriors, Dream Masters. I think was number four. And sometimes these box out for the Freddy stuff blurs a bit, but I remembered that one really standing out to me. I was like, "Ooh, I want to watch that," But not only that, there was another one. Chuck Norris film. I think it was called Force of One. It was like he was like kind of like a meditation pose in a pyramid. There was that one too. And anything that had a muscle bound guy with a gun, it
You're in.
was a jackpot, you know? I mean,
For me, it was this horror movie Dolls, which I don't even know if I ever rented or have seen, but it was like the doll holding its own eyeballs.
yeah, yep, I know the one. Yep. I know the one. I know exactly. I
And
remember seeing that cover too. Yeah. There's some good ones.
continue with
School.
your interview. Sorry.
We can go on about that forever. But you talk about 96, you talk about Twister and such. Scream came out in 96. Wasn't Scream and Kevin Williams kind of like the move that really inspired you to want to write?
Absolutely. That I mean, I saw Scream before, before it became a hot thing, right? That was a true word of mouth hit. I don't know that they necessarily even knew what they had there. And so I
Mm,
saw the opening weekend and I went back, I think I don't it was either the next day or the next weekend with a tape recorder. And I recorded the entire fucking movie on an audio cassette and I went home and transcribed it and studied it because it was just like I remember just being so shocked in the theater when he stumped me on the Friday the 13th question, right? It's like you're playing along at home and yet
mm,
you're wrong because he knows exactly what you're thinking, which is that Jason's the killer and he's not. So I just remember, like, from that moment on, it was such a visceral reaction that I had where it was like, shit, you got me, and now you're scaring me, but you're making me laugh. I mean, it's the perfect movie. That really is the perfect movie. And I was a huge Dawson's Creek guy as well. So like Kevin Williamson and I vibe with him as a writer.
Um, so later on, you go to NYU, you write for the school paper, right? Around that time, you start writing for Anaccord News. I think it's around what, 2002, 2003, under the name Mirror Jeff, because you're a big fan of the Miramax movies. Look, you can cringe all you want. Everyone was a big fan of Miramax movies. It was like, that was like a 90s establishment, right? Because you're everything from Clerks to Pulp Fiction to like everything in between.
And The
So
Crow.
when you Exactly, right. The Crow, absolutely. I just had its what 30th anniversary this year, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, a couple of months ago, right? When you're writing under Mirror Jeff and you had your stuff for the school paper and what have you, and you were writing there for around 5 years or so, when did you start establishing your own kind of writing kind of like method or writing kind of like style? Do you find yourself developing stuff over the years? Do you look back like I know for myself, I've been doing this for like 18 years now. I look back at my stuff when I first started and it seems to have like a totally different person to the writing I do now. Did you start like around that time developing about who you are as a writer with those movie reviews and early
I
writing
mean,
examples?
the truth is that I was obviously influenced by the people I was reading. And if you look
Hmm.
at like who the voices were back then, it is people like Harry Knowles, where it's just like, oh my God, this movie is so amazing. I want to jizz all over it. And it's like, that's not really the kind of writing that is acceptable these days. And so
Right.
but so I think it took a while to find my voice. I also was someone who took a lot of notes.
Right. Yeah.
Like you look back on my press notes, which I have everything, by the way. I keep everything. And even my friends, like, like I don't have kids, right? I don't have a wife. I have this fucking life. And I have saved everything, including every little scrap from like all of their weddings. But as far as movies go, it's just like I remember taking so many notes during these movies that I wasn't paying like full attention to the movie, right? How
Hmm.
can you when you've written like half a script practically? And so I learned to stop doing that. And so I think that your voice evolves over time and you learn what works for you. And it's like if it's like you'll remember it if it's worth remembering. Right. You shouldn't have to take notes on a movie. Like the average viewer isn't going to. And that's the other thing. I've tried to put myself in the mindset of just like, I'm an average Joe. I think I have good taste in movies, but I don't have highfalutin taste,
Hmm.
right? I don't some of these movies that people willingly go see, I'm just like, this sounds like so boring. Like, why even subject yourself to this? Well, it's because I'm a film critic and I need to see everything. It's like, no, you don't. I don't
Right.
know. Life is too short.
Yeah, I've developed kind of like that philosophy lately because I do have a couple. I do have two boys. I'm married as well, and so it hit a point around 5, 6 years ago where I was just like, I can't see everything. I can't go to everything. I got to start, and getting screeners, of course, helps quite a bit with that, of course, as well, links and such. But, like this week, for example, like last night I watched Twisters. I watched that, but a couple of nights ago was Fly Me to the Moon. And I was like, I can pass that one, right? So, but yeah, sometimes you
Right.
just gotta pick and choose your the films you can see. Yeah.
And like last night, I felt a little bad going to see Fly Me to the Moon because I hadn't sent the newsletter yet. It was like
Hmm.
6:30, movies at 7. I got to decide, like, am I finishing the newsletter? Or am I going to go to the movie? And I chose to go to the movie and send the newsletter late. But if I had a hot scoop that was like, I don't want to put this out at 11 o'clock at night, I would have, you have to learn to be an adult and say, all right, I'm going to do it for my readers and get it out on times for me,
Yeah.
rather and not see the movie. But I was
Yeah.
curious, because that's also a movie that's like, there are movies that come out that everyone's going to go see anyway. So what does it matter if, like, what your take is, right? Everyone's going to go see Deadpool versus Wolverine. Who cares what I think? But like, Fly
Right.
Me to the Moon is one that I think that actually look to critics and be like, is this any good? Is this worth my time and money? What did you
Mm.
think?
Well, Fly Me to the Moon, I didn't get a chance to see. Twisters, I saw
Oh,
last
okay.
night, though. Yeah,
How was that?
Twisters, I saw last night. I actually liked it. I actually quite liked it. And the reason why I liked it is because they were smart enough to cast actors like Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones. So when the twisters aren't twisting, you still have charismatic actors on the screen actually holding the screen. And I think sometimes with disaster movies, they tend to not do that, and the lapses between the big special effects set pieces can drag. And with actors like that, it doesn't, because they have good chemistry on screen. I
I
think it
think
worked pretty well, actually.
that's a
Yeah,
great point. That makes me excited to see it. I think I see it on Monday night. So, I'm a big
awesome.
Glenn Powell fan. I'm looking forward to it.
Please support Matt's movie reviews on Patreon. Get access to exclusive content, request movie reviews and top 10 lists, and help support my work. Please click on the Patreon link in the description below. Okay, I just want to move to a thing that I do. It's one of the games that I do on my show here. It's called Choose Between Two. So, Jeff, this is pretty much how it works. I'm going to throw the option of two to you, and you've got to choose one of them and expand on your answers there. Are you ready to play?
Yes.
Okay, let's start off with two heavyweight directors from the 90s. Paul Thomas Anderson or Richard Linklater?
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Oh, that was quick as well. Well,
Yeah.
because
I mean,
I know you love Magnolia, I know you love Boogie Nights, but I also know you like Dazed and Confused. So I thought it might be a little more debate, but yeah.
no, I mean, I love Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused is a perfect movie as well. I mean, and I really don't use that very often, but Dazed and Confused is perfect. But like outside of that, I'm not like one of these before trilogy people,
Hmm.
So if you're not one of those people, I think it's tough to give it to him.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, he makes a lot of stuff. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I think it takes a lot more swings than PTA. So there's a lot more misses, if you will.
Hmm.
Um, Boogie Nights and Magnolia is just a tough 1-2 punch to contend with, along with things like There Will Be Blood. Yeah, PTA for me, I think, is the easy answer.
Next one. Better serial killer movie, Seven or Silence of the Lambs?
That is tough.
Got yeah.
I mean, those are the two greatest. That is impossible. I hate you for making me say this. I think that the answer is probably The Silence of the Lambs.
I think people really underappreciate how and it sounds weird because that's the movie, like especially in the early 90s, swept at the Oscars, really changed the trajectory of everyone that was on that film, from even Anthony Hopkins, like even up to that point. I think that kind of made him a movie star. He was a very big actor, but that made him a movie star, Jodie Foster as well. But I think kind of people sleep on that a little bit, even to the fact where sometimes I'll watch kind of like movie reaction videos, and like the younger generations, like, oh, I never heard of this film before. It's like, how the hell have you not heard of this film before? But Seven, they kind of heard of because, Brad Pitt's in it and such, as a little bit of a component on there. But that movie, man, it's just something else. And it's great because it seems like every other film that we have, even with something like Longlegs coming out later this week, I think there's threads from that movie that goes through all the way through to Seven, to Zodiac, and to these other films as well. I think it's a fantastic film.
I mean, those are two of my top five movies, maybe. Like, that's tough to choose.
Next one. Better slasher, Halloween or Scream?
Better slasher. Oh, that's tough. So just as a slasher series,
As a film, the first films.
oh, the first films.
So Carpenter's 78 and Scream from 1996.
Oh man. All right, give me 30 seconds here. I gotta think about this. I'm gonna say Halloween.
Such a great film. Both films are great, but Halloween. What are your
I
thoughts
was about
on
to
John
say Scream. As
Carpenter?
I started that sentence, I was going to finish Scream, but I feel like Halloween, I find myself rewatching Halloween more because it's just like sharp as a knife. Like, I mean, it's
Mm,
just like it delivers. You have to watch it every Halloween.
mhm.
Scream. These are impossible questions, Matthew. How dare you?
What are your thoughts on John Carpenter getting his Hollywood star coming up now, and Robert Englund as well, right? Both of them are getting them not far from each other.
I mean, both very deserving. I feel like I've
Mm,
seen a lot of, stars who have been movie stars, yes, but not icons. Like I think that both of those guys really are. I mean, they don't, they call New Line the house that Freddie built for a reason. How many would there be a Boogie Nights, right? If it wasn't
mm,
for Freddy Krueger?
probably not. Well, I'm just imagining Freddy Krueger in Boogie Nights. That would have been an interesting crossover. Next one, physical media or streaming?
Physical media or streaming? Oh, I mean, it's tough to argue with streaming,
Hmm.
just given like the bargain that I think that is. I mean, you're basically, I guess it's one, you're getting like one, if it's $15 a month for Netflix and you have access to all these movies, that's the equivalent of buying like one DVD a month. And so I feel like streaming is a better bargain. It's tough, unless you have a huge home. I think you'll run out of space if you're like a real physical media collector. Like, I mean, these things can take up an entire room, some of these collections. I allow
Hmm.
myself, basically, when I had moved in with the girlfriend, or now ex-girlfriend, um, she said, you got to get rid of all these DVDs. And I got to keep like 100 of them, like the cases. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I allow myself these 100 DVDs, but I don't know, physical media, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
These
Last
blue
one.
these Blu-rays are like what, 30, $40 now?
Yeah, and there's a lot of these kind of like expanded packages stuff coming out because a lot of the specialty kind of boutique kind of places want to give you a bang for your buck, right? So they've got like extra posters and all other stuff in there as well.
Of course. I mean, some of these releases are absolutely gorgeous. It's amazing, whether it's Criterion or Arrow or Umbrella, or, whatever these companies do. But yeah, I don't know that I could keep up with it. And I would feel this pressure too if I was truly committed to physical media collection.
Last one for to choose between two. You're in the cinema, about to sit down. Are you munching on popcorn or candy?
Candy. So
Candy.
my
What's your
family
go-to?
in the theater, oh boy. Like I brought some See's chocolates to the movie last night, but it would probably be Reese's Pieces. Reese's
Okay.
Pieces or Sour Patch Kids, but like, yeah, yeah. My family's in the candy business, Matthew.
Hmm.
So it's again tough to choose candies. Like I have no allegiance. I'm friends
It's
with
a
all.
And you know, you can't go wrong with either one, I think. Um, I just want
But
to
I'm
move
not a
on now.
popcorn
Go
guy. I'm
ahead.
a nacho and pretzel bite guy.
Okay. I had one person saying hot dog. What's your feeling
I've
on
never
that?
had a hot dog
Really? Not
ever in my
one.
life. Nope.
You were in New York for 4 years, NYU. How can you not go past me on a
American,
hot?
and I have never had a hot dog. I've never had a salad.
I know about the salad part. The salad part I can kind of understand, but the hot dog one's kind of crazy.
No one can tell me what a hot dog is, Matthew. No one can tell me what it is.
I seen the components in it.
Yeah, it's just made out of discarded parts of things. I don't even know.
I think Robert De Niro said it best in Goodfellas, the hoof. I think the hoof is in the hot dog.
It's good.
I want to talk about when you move over to Los Angeles. So that was as a at first you were like an intern over there, then you worked a bit for Variety, production editor. So we're talking about you were 24 years old, right? You're 2004. You worked for a lot of other places, and I read that something you once said in regards to working in Hollywood is you have to be intrepid, you have to be fearless when it comes to work in that town. Is that the major component you think in working in Hollywood if you want to be a reporter? Is that the number one component you need to make sure that you can survive in there? Because you said before you are a survivor, you've been there for quite some time now. Is that the number one thing you need? You need to be able to be fearless and have kind of like a thick skin to make sure you can make it through that through the industry.
I think it's important, but I don't know that it's the number one thing. I think it's the number one thing if you wanted to be an independent journalist, right? If you wanted to like make your mark as an individual, but I think if you want to make money, right, which means really now working for the one company that has money, which is, Penske, unless you go to the Wrap, I think you need just people skills. I mean,
Mm,
I have people skills, but it's not always the people skills that people want. Yeah, just have to like be able to get along with everybody. I think and that goes for any job out here now, right? It's just like it's different. There are no everyone and they think that they're like being so like revolutionary and saying they're like, guess what I have? A no assholes policy.
right.
Pretty pretty cool, huh? No assholes policy. Are you an asshole? Get off my set. And it's like, you
Hmm.
know what? I walked into Randall Emmett's office once, and I don't know how much you know about Randall Emmett. Bit of a
Very
shady
little.
character,
Hmm.
bit of a shady character. But he had a sign on his door that said, "Assholes get shit done,"
Mm,
and that's the truth.
hmm.
Like I don't think of myself as an asshole. I'm sure there are plenty of people who do. Um, I think there's a lot of incompetence in Hollywood that I just can't stand. That's like my biggest pet peeve.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that people look down on journalists and expect them to behave a certain way and just like, you're a mouthpiece for the studios and like it's almost like real journalism is looked at askew here. Like, what are you doing? You need our permission to practice this or to release this or that. So it's just I think the thick skin is important, but it also pays less to be fearless than to just be amenable and be able to get along with people.
I think it was your time in the rap where you started really like breaking scoops, and it's like Binder stuff. I think the first scoop you broke, from what I did in my research, was Philip Baker Hall joining Mr. Popper's Penguins, which they didn't say that in a row, 5 times in a row, so that's a mouthful right there. But is when you start developing the talent to trying to get, you know, scoops, breaking news and such, what are the first steps in developing that as a skill? Because I think it is a skill to be able to do that. It's a talent. You said before it has about having the right personality, but does it also come down to, I don't know, is it a psychological thing? Is it a philosophical thing? How does it come about to be able to go into that line of work and be able to be consistent with your breaking news that you've been able to do for so long now?
And it's about what motivates you, right? And like my dad will hate me for saying this. I'm sure my ex would hate me for saying this, but like I'm just not motivated by money. Most people in
Hmm.
life are motivated by money. It's all about money, 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 money. For me, I just like, I guess it's attention. Ever even my friends said that we used to joke that I had INAD disorder as a teenager. INAD meaning I need attention disorder.
Hmm.
And that's what I love it. I love the thrill of the hunt and then bagging the elephant, like solving the mystery, if you will. Like I always loved mysteries as a kid and reading whodunits and that kind of stuff. And every single thing about casting is solving a little mystery. And so I think I love that element of it. And I also love being the person to tell the world, right? So that all eyes are on me. Hey, everybody, listen up. I've got something important to say, or that you think is important, right? Sometimes I don't even think it's important. So uh I think that to go back to the actual question, what was it? What qualities lead to a good reporter, or what was it exactly?
Well, to be able to be a consistently good one and to be able to get to the level where you can get scoops like that, how do you approach it? What is it that
Okay, okay,
you're able to
okay.
do?
Well,
Is
I think the
do it?
first thing is that like as a trades guy, I was like everyone deserves a chance to be in the trades.
Right.
Whether you're Christian Bale or some fucking guy on the street who just booked, a one line in a movie, every person deserves to be in the trades. That's what the trades are for. So no story too small because the truth is, as they say in this town, the people who you see on the way up are the same people that you see on the back on the way down, right?
Hmm.
And you don't know if your waiter, like seriously, the last time that I saw my buddy Beck Bennett, I used to hang out with Beck when he was in college, and I had just graduated and come out here. I was, I think, a year older than Beck, who then went on to be on SNL. But the last time I think I saw Beck in person, he was my waiter.
Hmm.
And then he went on SNL, and now he's filming fucking Superman.
Mm.
So, it's like you just never know. Same thing with like my NYU days. Like I would live 3 doors down from Gina Rodriguez. Like to me, she was just I just used to always, these were like I used to watch Martin. So I used to just go up to Gina and go, damn Gina. And like now she's on hosting a fucking show with Shaq.
Hmm.
Every class I had was with Donald Glover. So you just don't know who it's going to be. And so you have to treat everybody a certain way. Um, you know, be nice to everybody. But also you also have to okay, here's the other thing now. This is a big even with my friends. I came out here and one of my closest friends was Spielberg's assistant.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes she'd be talking to PR, some of our other friends, and I'd walk into the room and they'd stop talking.
Hmm.
And you have to be okay with that. You have to, it's uncomfortable and you have to, I mean, ideally you get to a place where like they'll keep talking because they trust that, you're safe around them in that regard and you're not going to say anything. Because as a reporter, I mean, you have to be craven, but you also have to be respectful, right? It's like, listen, if I get this from Sam and Mike doesn't tell me and Mike's my friend, then you know what, Mike? Like I've got it fair and square. I'm going to post it. And Mike, you should have told me yourself, and then it would have been between us, and it would have been
Hmm.
off limits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like it's a certain social thing when you're a reporter where it's like everyone wants you there, but also wants to keep you at arm's length. And I think you have to be okay with that. And it's a tricky feeling.
The Matt's Movie Reviews YouTube channel is brought to you by TeePublic. TeePublic is the world's largest marketplace for independent creators to sell their work on the highest quality merchandise. With over 1.2 million designs, TeePublic is sure to have something you'll love. When does Jeff Sneider begin and the InSneider begin? Is the InSneider a alter ego, would you say? Or is the InSneider very much just Jeff Sneider with a fancy nickname? Is there a difference between the two?
I think that there is a little bit. I think that social media is supposed to be performative. And I'm
Hmm.
also not reporting on fucking Biden and Trump. Like this isn't politics. I'm not a medical reporter reporting on cancer. Like this is entertainment. And
Yeah.
entertainment reporting is supposed to be entertaining. And it had gotten boring. So I do think that that is part of it. I obviously wear my heart on my sleeve and maybe overshare, but that's maybe just my generation, which I think is looking for authenticity, and they want to know. Don't you want to know who is reporting the news? Like, don't you want to know that the person behind the byline and whether or not that person can be influenced by outside factors? It's just like things like that. So I think that it's close to me, but it's not 100% me, and I'm actually a lot more sensitive than I come off. You have to play the tough guy a little bit, right? You have to come off a little like, don't fuck with me. But I'm a kitty cat if you get to know me. I cry at movies. I shed a tear at Fly Me to the Moon last night, but don't tell anybody that.
I won't. Speaking of social media, when you're writing for the trades and everything else, and then Facebook comes along, Twitter comes along, all these other things as well, what did that do to the industry, do you think? Did it make your job easier because you have these different platforms where you can put your news out and it goes out to everyone in an instant like that? Or does it make your job harder because then all of a sudden all these other people kind of pop up who weren't doing the hard yards, and then all of a sudden they're kind of like almost in the same kind of like space that you are? I'm really curious about that.
I mean, that's been an evolution over the years. Yeah, I mean, yes, it makes it easier in a way in that it's helpful. Okay, you get to share your stuff directly and build an audience directly, right? And frame things a little bit differently than your editors might, and go a little bit further into the story than you're allowed, and also it puts you in contact with a bunch of different sources, right, who come out of the woodwork and hit you up on social media, but on the other hand, you're right, it gives everyone a voice and it democratizes everything, and it's like, wait a second, like these voices aren't necessarily equal, like, all due respect, like you're just a film, as hypothetically, people out there, you're just a film fan, and it's like I'm here actually, living among these people and talking to them, so it's a little bit different. Yeah, but like I think that it made things harder in that it felt like every time you're going on social media, you're going to like the microphone and being like, I have an official statement to make, you know? And so your company starts to like take it so seriously. And now I think if they've taken it less seriously, they realize everybody on the internet's just kind of fucking crazy. And if like one of their reporters gets into it with somebody, that's just par for the course on Twitter. But like back in my day, it was like, oh my God, Jeff's mixing it up with people. Oh my, we got to get rid of this guy. He's dangerous for the brand. Like they just didn't know how to react. And it's like, listen, people who are on social media and wade into those waters know what they're getting into. And I'm not going to talk to me the way that they think that they can talk to anybody, because most of them are completely anonymous.
Yeah, and that is true, very much so. I mean, I was actually talking to a documentary filmmaker a couple of days ago, and his documentary is about that, about an online troll, very infamous one, and that online troll is just so insidious, just in the way that he goes about doing stuff in that sphere, that it's ruined people's lives in many ways, and he takes a lot. I think he takes a lot of pleasure out of that. So it's really cool that you can actually talk back, say to them, "Hey, don't fuck with me, man. I know what I'm doing, and I'm not going to be wilt to your online craziness."
I have a thick skin for the most part, but I also have a thin skin where, I maybe do take things too personally, and I am too sensitive about certain things, and that's shit I need to deal with. But yeah, it can derail like podcasts, just to have a troll like ruining everyone's experience in the comment section. Like, what am I supposed to do? Ignore it? Like it sucks. And I hope that people don't feel I'm like that with their work. I'm just, I have to be honest about the work.
Yeah.
And I'm never gonna, I mean, it's very rare that I'll sugarcoat anything for anybody. I'll put it that way.
The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Amazon Prime Video. One of the best on-demand streaming services available, Amazon Prime Video features exclusive Amazon originals as well as popular movies and TV shows. Watch Amazon Prime Video anytime, anywhere. Well, we're going to put that to the test right now because I'm going to move over to another game called Rapid Fire Questions. I'm going to throw a question to you. You're going to try to give me as quick as you can off the top of your head your answer, and then if you want to talk more about it, go ahead. So the first one is, what do you think was the worst Best Picture Oscar winner?
Excuse me. The worst Best Picture Oscar winner.
Hmm.
I have no idea.
Well,
No idea.
let's keep it into the sphere of when your work of the time you've been working. So just say over the last 20 years or so.
Oh, geez, you're putting me on the spot. I don't have a list in front of me. Uh,
I thought that Coda from a few years ago was an interesting choice.
no, I loved Coda. Coda deserved to win. Wait, I want to answer this correctly. I know it's supposed to be rapid fire, but I want to get you a real answer.
No, no, it's all good. It's all good. Some people say Crash.
I mean, this fucking thing, winners. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna say I mean that was bad. Uh I'll say all right, I'm gonna say Everything Everywhere was pretty weak winner.
I actually find that film incredibly overrated. That's just my perspective, though. I don't really get it. I sometimes, I used to follow the Oscars quite a bit, and I think a lot of the stuff when I was watching you on Collider, when you were doing stuff with Perry and Scott Mans, and you were talking about all predictions, I used to watch that like all the time and watch the
Hopefully
show
we'll
and
bring
all
it
that.
back.
You should, because I think that was like that was my favorite parts of the kind of like award season, watching you guys do that stuff. But then over the last several years, with the no host thing and everything else, I just kind of it lost flavor with me. And I think to me, the this is kind of off track with the rapid fire kind of stuff. But do you think that the Oscars themselves, when you kind of compare it to the ceremonies in the 90s and the early 2000s and the 80s and such, it's a certain amount of I don't know, classes has been lost. There's a certain amount of show business that's been lost. You think they're trying to too hard to be too regular people and not so much like a big superstar kind of thing? That seems to be something that's missing, I think, from the whole Oscars experience.
100%. I mean, it's become a TV show. I
Mm,
mean, it's all just about the ratings instead of like actually honoring the people in the room and like celebrating the year in film and film history and the industry. Like, I just think that the marker has changed for the worse. I mean, the show just isn't what it used to be, and I think that's why it has problems, getting a host, and that's why it's just been Jimmy Kimmel. Like, Jimmy Kimmel does a good job, don't get me wrong. He's great at what he does, but I see Jimmy Kimmel every night if I want.
yeah, yeah.
And there's something, there's a magic that I think has been lost that I would love to see the Academy bring back, but that's going to take bold Academy leadership, honestly. I mean, some of these people in these positions is just like, yeah, you're great on paper, but like, are you charismatic? Could you convince like a movie star that you'll take care of them and that you've got them and to trust you? Like, I don't know.
Mm. Next one is Pulp Fiction still your favorite movie?
No.
So is there that you don't have favorite movies anymore, or something's taken that title?
I mean, it's still sometimes I'll give it as a default answer, but yeah, I no, it's probably not at this point.
Next one, pineapple on pizza, yes or no? It's quite amazing when I ask people that question. It's always definitive. It's not, yeah, maybe sometimes, once in a while it's either yes or no. And the correct answer is no. So you're right there.
Yeah, I mean, I would if someone was like, "Oh, I've got like," if I was super hungry and someone's like, "Oh, I've got pineapple pizza." All right, but like, I don't know, doesn't seem like a match to me.
No, me
Fruit,
either.
it does not make sense to me.
No, no, no. It turns it into a dessert, doesn't it?
I like it.
Um, Favorite superhero slash comic book movie?
Batman is my favorite superhero, but favorite comic book movie is The Crow.
Regarding The Crow, I had my younger brother and I, we love that movie. We love The Crow. We love Brandon Lee from even before that with Showdown, Little Tokyo and Rapid Fire and all those movies. We had a theory that if Brandon Lee, God bless him, wasn't tragically killed in that movie, that he would be one of the big movie stars of
20
all time.
million,
I
$20
see
million a year. 20 million a picture. Sorry, 20 million a picture. Absolutely.
he would have. I think that he would have been Neo in Matrix. He would have been like your superhero movie guy. He would have been all that kind of stuff. He could have transitioned to dramatic roles. I think he would have been just huge. I think.
100%. He'd be in the John Wick movies now. He'd
Oh
be in
yeah,
fucking everything.
everything. Such a tragedy. Such a great film. Still is 30 years after. I just watched it recently. It's such a fantastic movie.
Visually influential.
And for a young goth kid like myself in the 90s, hugely influential in my choice of attire at that time as well. Um, Next one. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
I'm the only one who says no, I think. Well, on that context, if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, does Lethal Weapon become a Christmas movie as well? Because Lethal Weapon is also based in Christmas. I mean, at the end of the film, Gary Busey and Mel Gibson are, you know, doing the like doing jiu-jitsu fight with around Christmas trees and everything else in the film.
I think under that criteria, then it does qualify as a Christmas movie. Yes. I don't think of it as a Christmas movie, but I think that if Die Hard is, then Lethal Weapon, you could argue, is as well.
It's such a fascinating topic, that one. Um, just
Die
so
Hard is the great time of year to watch Die Hard.
a Christmas movie. Okay, very cool. This should go. I think yeah. Okay, I buy that. I want to talk about the InSneider newsletter because here we are. I, I was listening to an interview you did. I think it was with Christian Harloff from the Schmoes Know and everything else. And he was talking about that time. I think you were working with him at Collider at the time, and he was talking about, would you ever think about going independent at the time? And at the time, you're like, it's not something that, you didn't have the confidence to really do. There's a lot of tech stuff and everything else. Here we are, though. I think you're about a year, 2 years into the InSneider being out there now. When you decide to go independent and you want to do your own newsletter, what changed in regards to the confidence for you to want to jump into that realm now? Because I think the biggest thing now with a lot of people is, especially entertainment writers, is going independent is become a much more feasible option because of the options that are out there. You could do stuff. You could go on YouTube, you could go everywhere else. If you got a community, if you have an audience and you have the experience, you can pull it off. And I think you're doing a really great job in regards to InSneider yourself. So when it came to making that decision, what were the steps in doing it, and what was it like tackling those tech aspects of it that you were kind of very trepidatious in regards to beforehand?
I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and really, I still don't, even after 9 months, I think it's been.
Hmm.
I had no choice, Matt. I could not get hired anywhere, quite frankly. And do I think that that's fair? Not necessarily, but it's understandable. I've had, a couple bites at the apple at The Wrap, which is still looking for a film editor as far as I know. Could probably use me, but that's another story. And then, I think Variety could use someone who actually breaks news on the film side, but I seem to have worn out my welcome there as well. Hollywood Reporter has somebody, and Deadline is fully staffed. So, and IndieWire, I don't think necessarily needs me or wants to be in that ball game. And already we're seeing Hollywood Reporter having layoffs and maybe changing its mission. So like those are the places that care about this stuff and that pay an adult salary. I mean, Collider paid a decent salary, but then they got acquired by Valnet, and I think I was, on the chopping block because of that.
Mm.
So the truth is there's just only so many places that pay a big boy salary with benefits and shit like that. I think like Jermaine has a great gig. right, up at Gizmodo. And but like, I think there's rumors now about Gizmodo. But if you're not like Vanity Fair or the Times, like I tried writing for the Ankler. I loved writing for the Ankler. And I don't really know what happened with the Ankler other than like it wasn't really a fit. Because with that newsletter, it was like, okay, we need stories every Monday. We have a newsletter sent at 3 o'clock, and the Monday newsletter is going to be you. And it's like, well, guys, these deals aren't done.
Hmm.
So it's like we could post and then piss off these studios who are like, why are you wading into this territory? Or, I don't have anything in time for you, and then we don't have a newsletter, and so you piss off your advertisers. So it just wasn't really it wasn't my fault. But I get where they were coming from. But so I had no choice but to start the newsletter. I had, you could go between Substack or Beehive.
Hmm.
Substack takes a bigger cut. I think it takes like 10% of your overall subscription money. Whereas Beehive, you pay them a fee every month, whether you have one subscriber or 5,000 subscribers, and that's the fee, right? So I wanted a fixed fee, and that's why I decided on Beehive, even though pretty much every other newsletter I know has been on Substack. I think that's just because of the name recognition, you know what I mean, that Substack has. And maybe it's, I think Substack also has like a creator sort of network, where like you can see other newsletters that are sort of related in the field, and that's how people pick up subscribers and stuff. But the thing about going independent and that I would caution people is, first, I have no head for business at all. I haven't incorporated into an LLC. In fact, the day that I went to the bank and I was like, I'm starting the newsletter today, I need to go to the bank to open a new account. They're like,
Hmm.
they're like, our person who does that is out today. You would have to go to a different branch. And I was like, you know what? I'm not getting in my car and driving to a branch. Like, so like I fucked up like the finances, like which are now tied with my personal finances. Um, on the tech side, I definitely had a buddy helping me because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. They don't make it easy for you either. These places like advertise that it's super easy. I found it to be incredibly difficult because I'm not very like tech savvy.
Hmm.
But the other thing that I'd say is that, as far as like the content, you need to have a voice, but you need to offer something that people are willing to pay for, right? And that's why you won't see, or you don't, and you really won't see a lot of people go independent with newsletters because not a lot of people break news, right? And that's kind of like the deal. You could be a great aggregator, but like, why can't anybody just go to a website to get that aggregation for free? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Someone who writes 8 articles a day for Collider, and then you get laid off, and you're like, all right, I'm going to cover these same 8 articles now in my newsletter and send it out. Who's going to pay for that when they could get those same 8 articles with whoever you replaced you at Collider? You know what I mean? For free. So you have to have a following that's willing to pay and information, something unique at least to share.
Well, I think that what you've done with your InSneider newsletter has been really cool. I really do, because, and I really admire people who, regardless of the circumstances, who are willing to go out there and just put their name on something and work on it. And I know you've been in the industry for a very long time. And I think because of all the hard work that you put in over the last 20 years and the places that you worked at and the lessons that you learned and uh, the experience that you gain through all the years. I think that's what makes your newsletter so not only does it have information that people want to read, and not only does it have information that, is well written, but it's also, you as, Jeff Sneider or the InSneider or whichever, person is writing this newsletter. You've developed a community over the years. You made sure that, and what way you did that is by sticking to your guns and not giving up your authentic self. And whether there is consequences from that, I don't know, but I think it's really important that you being authentic in who you are and how you approach things in the way that you present things goes a long way. And I think that's why the InSneider is such a great read. And I think you should be congratulated for that.
Well, I mean, again, that is one of the kindest things I think anybody's ever said to me. Thank you very much for saying that. yeah, I'd like to think that I have built up certain credibility over the years. Like I do care about the job. And I care about this community as well. Like, this is my home, and I'm not Nikki Fink, and I'm not someone who stays in my apartment because I'm afraid to see the people who I write about.
Hmm.
I have been at these people's birthday parties and congratulating them on job changes for 20 years. And I'd like to think that that counts for something and that when I call, they'll take the call and they have my back. I'm very lucky to have had those years working at Variety and gotten into certain rooms and had certain meetings with people that allowed me to lay the groundwork, right, to go independent. Because I think it would be very difficult to just, dive in cold, if you will. But yeah, it's definitely a struggle. And like, even though the newsletter's doing well, I haven't spent a dollar on marketing, and like I still need to, there's a lot of things that I need to improve upon for sure, whether that's adding an audio component, or just again, like I said, doing more marketing. So I'm leaving money on the table, I know, and I need to step my game up. And I also need to, it's like it's a first year business, it's a startup. So you have to have modest expectations and expect that things are going to grow in year two and people are going to stick with you. And it's not just this 1 year experiment. That's the other thing. The people who I've talked to are like, you got to stick with this, right? There are going to be times when you want to pack it in and I'm making half as much money as I used to, but my expenses are the same. So like, I'm screwed,
Hmm.
but I have faith in myself that like, I will get there because I see that others are failing, and I'm eating away at their market share little by little.
Well, I think you're doing a great job. And for everyone out there, go to the InSneider.com. That is InSneider.com. Go there, get that premium subscription, help out Jeff get his work out there. Because, what's really cool is that um, you're doing this independently, but I don't know how many times I read articles and people are like, they're like, oh, breaking news, blah, blah, blah. And it always has to be, and usually, sometimes they don't, but usually they'll be like, Jeff Sneider first reported this for his InSneider kind of thing. That's so awesome, I think.
People have been very good as far as crediting and stuff, and I think that that's a testament to like over the years we've really gotten down on places that don't credit and just try to
Mm,
pass stuff as their own. And I always like try to link in my when I do bits and bobs, I make sure that every single one of those items has a link. Because
yeah.
it's not my original reporting. I got it from somewhere. And I think that's the least that you can do, right? So I appreciate all of that stuff and people paying attention. And the one thing I'll say about attention is like sometimes in this job you have to throw an elbow too,
Yeah.
like when you start out. And you got to make a splash, and that means maybe pissing someone off or making an enemy. But there's always an opportunity to do things the right way. And I'd like to think that I've learned that, after so long in the trenches. But thank you, for having me on, Matt. And yeah, if is there anything else that you wanted to ask?
That's all. And I just want to say thank you. And for everyone out there listening, please do the InSneider. Check out the link in the show notes, subscribe, read, enjoy. It's been a pleasure, Jeff. Thank you so very much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content. Also, if you would like to request a review and support my work, please join my Patreon via the link in the description below.